Are you a new artist starting an art business and trying to figure out how to make money? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I would take to make $10,000 in my first 6 months as an emerging artist. My name's Crystal. I'm a full-time artist. I've been selling my work online and in person for the last 10 years. So I'm hoping that these tips and ideas help you save time and not make some of the mistakes that I did, so that way you can jumpstart your sales and get off to a really good start with your art business. And speaking of mistakes, when I first started my art business, I did a lot of things that wasted years of my time and made me very little money. And so I want to start with those things to avoid when you're first starting out. You don't want to do coffee shop art shows or small gallery shows where they are group shows and you only have 1 or 2 pieces in them. And the reason why you don't want to do this is that you're not going to make that $10,000 in your first 6 months if you focus on really small sales opportunities. Likewise, spending an exorbitant amount of your time listing your artwork on all the different marketplaces and everywhere you could possibly sell online is probably a mistake, because you're likely not to make $10,000 in 6 months of your first time selling online. Selling online is really, really difficult. Now, it's not to say that you can't sell some things online in your first 6 months, because you absolutely will, but $10,000 worth is likely not to happen. Now on to what I would do. I would start by focusing on selling my art in person at local events in my area, and specifically, I would focus on selling my work at farmers markets. Now I'm going to hypothetically claim that in this situation, we're starting our 6 months in about April or maybe May. This would give you the best chances of making the $10,000 or even more, hopefully, during that time period. If you start in the dead of winter, there's less art events that are local to be able to do. And so that's why I think this plan is better to start in April or May. But if you are in an area that has a city with a farmer's market, and most of us are, then you should start selling your art at farmers markets. And here's why. The barrier to entry to this is super low. The booth fees for farmers markets are almost always under $100. Most of the time they're like $50. That's what they cost in my area. All you have to have is the cheapest, simplest Easy Up tent. You don't need anything fancy. You can simply just have your Easy Up tent and a table with a tablecloth over it and set your artwork on top of that. I've seen lots of people use a setup like this at farmers markets. And oftentimes people are able to make anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in one Saturday morning or Saturday early afternoon of selling. This is a very short amount of time commitment, because you're setting up your booth at like 6 or 7 a.m. and you're done selling by 2 p.m. It's only one day. This is something that you can do while you're working another job, because you can't support yourself completely off your art career yet, but you will be able to as you keep going. And so when you're starting out doing the farmers markets, the idea here is to test market your work. So if you don't have a cohesive body of work right off the bat, it's fine. Just have a couple dozen pieces that you're taking out there. Hopefully you have some art prints that you can make. If you need to figure out how to make art prints, check out the description. I have an entire playlist that shows you exactly how to do it, and they are affordable prints to make. So definitely consider making art prints, because if you're selling at farmers markets and local events, you want to have items that you're selling for under $20. If you have something that you can sell for $5, it's also good. Let's say a small pack of greeting cards or note cards or even stickers. But the idea here is to go to these markets every single weekend, set up your tent, and try to sell. Now, the first couple of weekends, you might not sell that much, but if you start listening to customers and seeing what they want, you can try to figure out how to make items that they will buy. And for your first month, this is really all you want to focus on, is just trying to make products that sell. And I figure after 4 weekends of doing this, let's say you've only made a couple $100 your first weekend, $500 your second weekend, maybe by the 4th weekend you're up to $700 or even $1,000. But this begs the question, what happens if you've done farmers markets for around a month and haven't ever sold anything? I would take a really good look at your work and compare it to other artists' work at the farmers market who are selling, and try to figure out how yours is different and maybe how you could make yours a little bit better, more equivalent to theirs to be able to sell. Not paint the same thing or create the same thing as they are, but look at the sizes of artworks they're offering, the quality level, and try to match that. And also consider what their pricing strategy is. If their prices are a lot lower than yours, then maybe you need to lower your prices. Or vice versa. If they're selling work for more and yours is a lot cheaper, maybe try raising your prices a little bit. Next, I want to do just a little bit of math here with you. So in 6 months, there are 24 weekends. And if you make $500 per weekend, then you will have $12,000 at the end of that 6 months. And so this is why it's very easy to actually make $10,000 in 6 months if you do an event every single weekend. And an event that you're actually going to make about $500 or even $1,000 or more at. And farmers markets can be good for this if you live in a bigger city that has a lot of traffic at your farmers markets. Now, if you're in a very small town where only like 20 or 30 customers show up to your farmers market, then this is not the type of farmers market to go after. You want to go to a city that has maybe 1,000, 2,000, or even 5,000 people visiting the farmers market on the Saturday that they have it. So if you live in a smaller town that has a nearby city, just commute there every Saturday to sell your work at the farmers market. All of that said, this video is not about selling your work at farmers markets. This is just to get you started, just to do the test marketing, because there are a lot better places to sell your work in person than farmers markets. Honestly, farmers markets are the lowest rung on all of the different outdoor events that you could possibly be choosing. But you have to start somewhere, and since the barrier to entry is so extremely low, it's worth exploring at the very beginning of your career. But then after you've done that for a month, maybe two, you want to move on to doing better events that you can make more money at. And these are local art fairs and other types of events in your local area within an hour drive of you. You don't want to spend a lot of money at first when you're just getting started on doing events that are like out of state where you're having to pay hotels and all of those extra costs, because you need to get a little more established first and have a body of work that you know that sells really well first. And so at this point in your career, at the very beginning, you're just really test marketing a lot of things and trying to get better at selling, because there are so many aspects of doing in-person events and the sales process that you have to master. And it's just a lot of practice really that will get you better at it, and practice that is affordable. So that's why I say to do the local events first. But there are so many local events that you'll make more money than farmers markets. Aside from art fairs and local artisan markets and things like that, you can also sell your work at a lot of different events. Some of them that are local that have worked out really well for me, where I've made anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 or $3,000 in a single weekend, are things like Spirit Mind body fairs, cat shows, dog shows, Renaissance fairs, home shows, any type of show or event that's at a convention center in your area. I know some artists even show their work at gun shows. Now for me, my market wouldn't be at a gun show, but some of the artists who I know who make really beautiful metal sculptures that hang on walls or just sit as three-dimensional works, they sell their work at gun shows and do really well, because their target market are men, and men are going to the gun shows more likely than families with women and children, which are who my primary target market is. To make sure you make $10,000 in 6 months, you're gonna wanna do a show every single weekend. And that's why I think it's a good idea to also keep the farmers market on the back burner, because they have them every single weekend. So if you don't have a better show to do that weekend, then do the farmers market instead. But you wanna do a show every single weekend. And while you're at the shows, collect email addresses from customers, because there are gonna be a lot of people that will visit your booth that won't end up buying, but you can get an email address from them. So that way you can reach out to them later. Start an email newsletter, and every single week send out an email with a coupon code that sends them either to an Etsy shop that you set up or to a website, either one. And like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't want to spend a lot of time listing your work everywhere online, but you need to have one place, maybe two, that you're selling your work, that you can funnel people from your email newsletter that you meet at these events to be able to sell stuff online. A lot of the customers that you meet won't purchase at the time, but later they will, like around Christmas time. And so by collecting all these emails right when you first start out your business, this is going to set you up for years to come with potential customers, good warm leads that you can send your emails out to, and you can get potential sales off of your website. And so this will help you make sales during times where there aren't art fairs. Let's say in the winter when it's really cold, or if you get sick and you just have to miss a couple of weekends of doing shows, you can send out emails to your newsletter and try to make some sales. If you'd like to learn more about setting up your art booth, the exact supplies you need, and how to save money on them, check out this video. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.